We have fairly been agile, flat. All these things have come from the one single principle. Find what the person is good at. Find what this person loves doing and let the work be aligned to that. So it's so easy to get this right. One of the key things we have been doing is hiring talent and not just get lost because of skills. Even if a person knows nothing, it doesn't matter. You can always learn this in 4 to 8 weeks time, max. So for every company which is agile, I think owning and self-managed teams are very, very critical. So that's an aspect we keep in mind while hiring.
Welcome to the Stars of Learning podcast, where your host Jyoti Ji explores the minds of the thought leaders who have vast experience and in-depth knowledge in the learning industry. Now over to your host Jyoti Ji.
Hello everyone, hearty welcome to season 2 of Stars of Learning podcast, and my name is Jyoti Ji. And I'm your host for the show, and each fortnight I interview the thought leaders who will share their best practices of learning in the 21st century. We will also discuss challenges, solutions, latest trends, tools, technology, leadership, and their journey in the learning field. So friends, I'm sure you will agree that the discovery of your talent is the beginning of your journey, as your talent is your uniqueness. Developing and mastering your talent is a lifelong journey. So here is a super passionate team who believes that discovering talent is crucial for your success and growth, as your talent determines what you can do and your motivation determines how much you're willing to do, and your attitude determines how well you do it. And that's the capacity of this leader to translate this vision into reality. It's none other than Subramanian Sivakumar, who like to be called Subbu, a chairman and chief executive officer of Pratian Technology, and he is also the CEO of the World Research Center, a deep tech global research and investment ecosystem of the future, plus the member of board of directors for many research centers across the globe. Subbu is also a serial entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience in the IT industries. He has an extensive cross-cultural leadership experience, having worked with Fortune 500 companies across large global enterprises and startups in all major geographies. He has been a digital business specialist, innovator, architect, mentor, strategy consultant, and investor. So friends, what I like about Pratian is it's all about employee first. They believe that, each one of us has infinite potential, and Pratian purpose is to connect people to accelerate their potential to infinite possibilities. Talent discovery is one of the among the 6 value delivery channels of Pratian, and what it does is it gives a multi-dimensional assessment framework for discovering the innate talent of an individual. It guides them towards the best fitment for their career and how one need to be pursued. With over a decade of experience in assessing about 1 million of people, they have been told over and over again that this kind of a discovery has led to discovering themselves. Isn't it a wow feeling? So guys, I've known Subbu from inception of Pratian Technologies, an amazing, wonderful personality to interact, and I am inspired and enlightened whenever I have had a conversation with him, and I have no words for his training delivery during those days of the years, and it was a super duper hit, so much so that we would wait for his date for training. And I'm sure you are going to enjoy this conversation on talent discovery, accelerating potential to infinite possibilities. So buckle up and get ready, guys, because I have a great interview for you. And before we jump in, may I request you all to take a screenshot of this episode and share it as your Insta story or any social media. And don't forget to tag me at Prajvita Knowledge. And without any further ado, let me welcome my guest, Subramanian Sivakumar, CEO of Pratian Technologies. Subbu, hearty welcome to the Stars of Learning podcast.
Thank you, Jyoti. That was quite a welcome and quite an introduction. So thank you for making me part of this event.
Awesome to have you on and glad that you're joining us today, Subbu. Subbu, before we start on this interesting topic on talent discovery, give us a little background about yourself, how you got to where you are today.
Right. So, Jyoti, you've done a lot of my introductions. I'll keep it brief. I've been working in the IT industry for a little over 2 decades now, 23 years. I started off as a C programmer in 1996, although my first stint was as a mainframe COBOL developer. And then I went on to programming C++ for quite some time. And then I also had a 3-year stint with a financial advisory services company in Bangalore. We used to help a lot of these software companies in 1999 raise capital. So I was fortunate to get opportunities to work with many top Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft, Interface with Compaq then, and then Digital, and then Ernst & Young, Goldman Sachs, Sun Microsystems, and multiple companies. And when I started my career, Jyoti, I had worked as a part-time faculty of a small college, which is now a bigger college. And I used to teach computer science for some of these students there. So then in 1999, 2000, I remember I was approached by one company to help Intel in one of the challenges they were facing. It was a large EC++ code. They were writing some code specs and they wanted somebody who could train their team and help them to fix the problem. So I spent a couple of days with one of the smartest engineers I've met. His name is Saksena.
Okay.
So this was amazing engineering, and we actually got things cracked in less than 2 days. And one thing led to other. Then my career took a different turn. I started training companies, different companies at Sun. Then from Sun Microsystems, I went to IBM, Intel, Siemens, Oracle, Microsoft. I was fortunate to have consulted or trained for well over 50 different large Fortune 500 companies. And then in 2006, I started off as one of the co-founders of Pratian Technologies. And from there, our company evolved into multiple things. We also built a framework called Skill Assure. That's when I met Jyoti at Nest Technologies. And prior to that, I used to know Jyoti at Philips. I used to teach some of their architects and designers, something on design. And then from there on, it's been an unbelievable journey. Little did we realize that we would have trained more than 50,000 people and over 20,000, all these new guys from campuses have been trained by us. We never ever thought we'd be training these campus freshers because that was not our business model. But then we were pretty successful doing this. And today we have a campus here in Whitefield. We have a nice 70,000 square feet innovation campus. We run different accelerators. We have people coming in seeking jobs or for better skills, high-end skills. We put them in a talent accelerator. From there, they work with our global development center. We build a lot of software for healthcare companies in the US. Mm-hmm. We work with one of the largest hospitals in the world and with large insurance companies in the US. So we have people working with us. And from there on, the smarter guys, they work in our innovation accelerator. If they have a product or an idea which you think is worth, we help them to incubate it, build it, take it ahead. And then people who have a good compelling business model, we actually encourage them to have their own startup and they get into a startup accelerator. So we built a full spectrum digital ecosystem from a C programmer to working in financial advisory services, then as a trainer for many companies to now what we're doing. It's been an amazing journey of 23 years for me now.
Wow. That's an amazing, wonderful journey. I think it's a holistic role from teaching to, advisory consultant and a co-founder and being an entrepreneur and now on your own company. Wonderful, Subbu. Thanks for that complete insight about what Pratian does and a kind of a service on the full spectrum to the giving that digital ecosystem. Wonderful. And I think we will deep dive into what Pratian does on the talent discovery. You are doing amazing work, connecting talent to opportunity and all of them. Let's begin with why, Subbu. Why it is important to focus on talent discovery?
Yes, in my brief stint as a trainer, I don't think it was very brief. I did train for about 10 years from 2003 to 2012. So I used to train different people across different companies. I used to find some people who are very, very smart and some people who were struggling. And the interesting thing was I found many people who were possibly frustrated, not happy with their job, and many of them had taken to ailments, stress-related diseases, and most of them jokingly said they would like to get into farming, agriculture. So this used to puzzle me. On one side, many of these people have aspirational jobs. Rest of India wants to be like them, be well traveled, work in large Fortune 500 companies, get well paid. While we have had these people who are not very satisfied. So this was a puzzle for me. The initial enthusiasm of working in a company, it lasts only for 3 to 5 years. And then it all depends on the job and the organization. So as I started thinking about this, I met my guru in 2007. He taught me a lot of things from Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita. I found one shloka in the Gita which was very impressive. It says, every society is well constructed when you're good and the karma, the work you do, are matching. So if the person's good, his qualities, his aptitude, and his work profile is in sync, is in harmony, then that person will deliver excellence leading to happiness. And I thought, wow, this is so easy. So, but today we do not really know what is the basic composition of a person. We have people allocated in different projects. We have people working in DevOps to augmented reality to big data to AI, ML. So it all happens in a pretty random way. So I thought we should have talent discovery going beyond simply taking talent. Really help the talent to discover about themselves. What is their attitude? What are they good at? And what they are not good at? And what are they passionate about? What they love doing? What connects to the larger purpose? And what are their goals? So we started doing analysis of aptitude, what we call as passion, and their goals. And then we started identifying different typical job profiles in the IT industry. Out of 36, we knew that many were actually good at 3 or 4. And then we could help them to choose, narrow down to one option. This we started doing gradually at scale. Now we made a product out of this. And this has been the most satisfying thing. So when people, new guys coming to Pratian and say, what should be my job role? We normally tell them, take a tour, just see what teams are doing. Let us know what you love doing. And then you can start working on that. And in a week's time, they come and say, look, I would love to be working on the big data stack. We say, okay, go ahead. You can start working with the team. So therefore, people choose what they love doing. So it's so easy. I don't have to manage them. We don't have managers at all in Pratian. It's a very self-managed team. We don't have too many HR folks trying to resolve conflicts. I've never resolved a conflict in the last 6 years with all these people. We are still a small company. We have 250, 300 people, but we are fairly being agile, flat. All these things have come from the one single principle. Find what the person is good at. Find what this person loves doing and let the work be aligned to that. So it's so easy to get this right.
So enlightening to listen about knowing the person good at, love at, and their goals and aspiration. Wonderful thing about the discovery what you are talking at Pratian, Subbu. Subbu, I know you are following this talent discovery, and I like the concept and the objective behind that what you shared just now. How did Pratian benefit from this?
Quite a lot, Jyoti. We were a very small company. You know that we were just a bunch of 8 to 10 people, training, consulting. That's about it. And 2014, we decided to scale. I was asked by my guru to scale. We adopted quite a few villages near our ashram. So I was given the job of trying to get some capital for the work we do. And then when I went to US, I found a large health tech client from 5 or 6 people. We started scaling to 30, 60, 100. Then eventually we ended up becoming 250 odd. And then we also acquired other companies. So we became a slightly larger team. In this whole journey, in the 48 months, which it took us to scale Pratian from 3 to maybe 300, I was in India only for 18 months. So the company was not built by me. It was built without me because the team was very self-managed. And two, our attrition has been almost minuscule. We've had the same people who were building the product from scratch and they lasted the whole journey. And they're all very smart. We, in fact, assessed about 60,000 people, and we took the sharpest 100 guys. So all of them knew that they had 10 jobs. And the place where our office is situated, we have at least 400,000 engineers working. And there's G to my right, and there's here the Infinite, Accenture. So many, iGate. So many companies are there here. And everybody would love to have such talent, but my team never left me. So they have fun. It's a very flat culture. And we have been the biggest beneficiary of what we try to do in helping others. We built our whole business model, our entire organization based on the talent discovery model. So we've been the biggest beneficiary of this.
Wonderful. In fact, the moment when somebody hears about a company, they go to Glassdoor and do that kind of a check, right? And I was amazed to see that, I can say that it was a zero negative input on the Glassdoor. And that's a amazing culture you have built. Self-managed is what you already said. It was not you, it's the people. I think zero management with strong ownership, and that's the culture you have built in. Wonderful to hear that, Subbu. I think talent is a greatest asset for organization, and I can sense that when you're talking about that, we should look at talent, nurturing them. The focus is how to recruit and retain the best of the best talent, right? I'm sure you have cracked the code and you have made that discovery. Will this discovery help to identify right people?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. As we are talking now, we had this month, we met close to 350 people. We got the 20 sharp people that we needed. So we have made a very good system out of this. And we also benefited a lot because as an organization, our entire team got pretty flat, and we could just take people who are fresh out of campus, groom them, and then start making them work on some very, very complex projects. In fact, we have been one of the largest health tech ecosystems for US healthcare. Now, how could we do this? We just started mastering the way that we were discovering talent. And this is something that we have done, assessing over 2.5, 3 lakh people, Jyoti. It took us a lot of time for us to learn this for the last 4 years. So we started coming with 3 fundamental things. We said, look, there are certain technical competencies, functional, and there are behavioral competencies. We also had one more called professional, which is very similar to behavior. So we put this 45 competencies, and we got combinations of these competencies mapped to a job role. So typically in Pratian, we have 36 different job profiles. You could be a back-end developer, a front-end developer, a blockchain developer. Some person could be a full stack. Somebody could be an architect. Somebody could get into automation testing. Somebody could be DevOps. So we have 36 different job profiles. We map this combination of 45 into these 36. And then we know that if these are the competencies the person is good at, this would be the most suited job profile. So we started hiring people for a given job profile than just core aptitude. So this really helped us a lot.
Okay. I think you have tapped on the self-discovery to nurture the competencies and the categories of bringing 45 competencies for the job-specific role. But then I want to understand how does this talent discovery platform make hiring easier?
Yeah. So as I told you, we map the job roles to different competencies.
Right.
It's a combinatorial thing. Now we are taking the trends we have. We are using machine learning and trying to make a science of this. So what we are doing, Jyoti, we are having a concept known as a talent DNA. So for a given organization, I'll just take, say, your organization, NES. So for a organization, for a business vertical, you might have a BFSI account, and there you might have a customer, and just a fictitious, let's say you have Bank of America as your customer. And for that, you might have a technology team, part of a project. So Bank of America might have a project, let's say Empire Project is an example. And there you have a team working on Java, and you would like to have a talent who's, say, A plus or B plus or B. So we take combination of these 6 levels of hierarchy and create what will be a good talent DNA, a unique identification for that particular team. So it's not about NES hiring people. It's about finding the right talent DNA at that level. So we started creating multiple such DNAs, and then we start mapping the competencies to DNAs. And as the machine learns from this, it gets more accurate. So now we can look at identifying the right talent for a specific job within an organization for a given customer. So that's basically how we are trying to do this.
Okay.
We are still learning. We're not perfected, but the results for Pratian and our customer has been pretty encouraging. And these guys get deployed immediately, and they're working on some of the most complex projects. And our customers swear by what we are doing. I'm not trying to say this as a flashy selling thing, but it's such a nice thing for any company to do. Do internal discovery and then start assigning work.
Okay. I think you have got a pulse of the pain points of the organization, and getting the right fit is something interesting. Definitely loads of effort at the back end would have gone to it. Would like to understand, Subbu, will it deliver excellence to individual as well as organization through this process?
Absolutely, yes, Jyoti. The history, the genesis for this, when I came back from US, getting a very large client, it was a fairly good pricing that I had contracted for. I knew that I'll find good quality talent and still be fairly profitable. And when I came back and we interviewed close to 350 people, we wanted to actually look at people who could build a healthcare digital platform from scratch. And all these were senior folks from many good companies. I think they were fundamentally pretty good, but not maybe oriented for a 0 to 1 startup from scratch product building model where they cannot ask for clarity. They have to come and define the key objectives. So that was very disappointing. We spent a couple of months. We were willing to pay them very good salary and we failed. And then had made promises. There was timeline pressure. Then we knew that we had skilled thousands of freshers and put them in projects and deployed them. We went the same route. We went to the first reputed college. We assessed 300 people. We got one person. Then from the next college, one person. So we kept doing this gradually. And then we started realizing that this works best. We can absolutely find out who's an A+. So we have this ranking, Jyoti.
Okay.
We call it as A++, the super sharp talent, A+, A, B+, B, B minus. We normally don't hire people who are B and below.
Okay.
Even B+. So one thing I'm very happy about how we have done the hiring, because I've also met different people across 50, 60 companies. I would say Pratian has 70 to 80% in the band of A+, which is kind of unusual for a company of our size. And we got this right. And even the few B pluses we hired, we knew them beforehand. So I would say our assessment has never failed us at all. And that's been how foolproof it has been.
Wonderful. And Subbu, with this approach, I think every organization needs a cream of the cream, and all the A++ superstars is what they would require. From your experience, can you give some insight on what every organization should be mindful of while looking out for talent?
I think the most critical thing is understanding the difference between hiring the talent and hiring skills. I see many companies who are stuck into hiring skills. When I say skills, forward the CV, they have all the technologies needed, and they are like almost seen as ready to go, and they have the right amount of experience. I don't think companies get it wrong, but there are different pressures. Just-in-time hiring, reduced timelines, access to limited set of people. So what we have been doing is hiring talent and not go behind skills, because in Pratian we have a simple formula. We call it as 1, 2, 4, 8, 12, 24. So what it means is there are certain skills we can pick in 1 week. I could possibly learn say Python in 2 to 4 weeks. I could really master big data stack even if I had not had a previous orientation. Certainly not more than 4 to 8 weeks. There are certain technologies which can take 12 weeks. Very few of them, I mean this very consciously, would take 24 weeks. Unless we are driving mission to Mars, something of that complexity, I don't see anything that will need more than 24 weeks at all.
Okay.
So I think simply trying to hire an Angular JS person or a guy Kubernetes, DevOps, it does not make sense. We have to assess their core aptitude. Are they brilliant people? Can they learn anything? Are they creative? Are they problem solvers or problem tellers? Can they do lateral thinking? Can they do breakdown? Do they have multiple dimensions of thinking? Can they think at multiple levels of depth? Once we assess that, technology is such an easy thing to acquire. So one of the key things we have been doing is hiring talent and not just get lost because of skills. Even if a person knows nothing, it doesn't matter. You can always learn this in 4 to 8 weeks time, max. And as an organization, if we find most of the employees at the left side of the spectrum, they can all skill themselves in 1 to 4 weeks, then it's amazing for agility. Even 1 to 8 weeks is fine. But if it's skewed, people take more than 12 weeks to actually skill. It means that you will lack business agility, either because there's some complexity which is being handled or because the talent on the floor is not sufficient enough. So moving to the left, moving to this spectrum, 1 to 4 is such a critical aspect. We keep that in mind when we actually hire people. So hiring great aptitude problem solvers is more important for us.
Okay. So 1 to 4 is most critical and most urgent kind of a thing, and 4 to 12 is something strategic, we could say, and something which is little more, which would take 24. It is aspirational, something like that we could frame it.
That's a great viewpoint. Maybe you're completely getting into a new domain, more time to learn. You cannot do that in 1 to 24 weeks.
Okay.
If you're making a paradigm shift, you're targeting newer domains and you want to look at technologies for that domain, then maybe more than 24 weeks is a choice, and that can be seen as a strategic hiring model.
Okay.
But if you're working on the same domains or domains which are not very complex, then it should certainly be a 1 to 8, certainly not more than that. That agility is so critical today.
Sure. Yeah. And this 1 to 4, 8, 12, 24 formula is something phenomenal, Subbu. Very insightful, and I'm able to resonate this kind of a learning because I was able to pick this podcasting itself within 4 weeks, and I was able to run the show within 12 weeks, fixing up and get started. So I'm able to connect the kind of a strategy you put there, that formula.
And just think about this, Jyoti. On the lighter side, you will struggle possibly to find some new competency in your HR space that could take you more than 24 weeks. It's such an irony. Because most of the things you need to learn, you learn this faster.
Yeah.
Hence, Jyoti, you can learn faster, is more valuable than the current skills you carry. Because almost everything you could do a transfer in maybe less than 24 weeks. And we're all as good as just maybe 24 weeks. So that's the fundamental bottom line in hiring.
Okay. So with this, Subbu, what is the approach one need to take, and is there any model or a framework you recommend?
Yeah, we have been using this iterative approach, Jyoti. When we say iterative, there are certain core competencies we expect in people, like ability to solve problems, mathematical logic orientation, ability to handle complexity. We have 3 factors. Can the person handle depth, or is he a person with breadth? And can he focus on large-scale complexity? And then, is he good in integrating things? So these are some generic parameters we assess in people in iteration 1. So from this, we kind of get to know if this person is a siloed person, or is he pigeonholed into thinking in only one dimension, or can he see multiple dimensions, and can he think at multiple level of depth? Once we kind of feel that the person has this, then we go to second level, where we look at specific competencies. From those competencies, in the third level, we can branch. Okay, this person looks more like a UI person. Maybe this person looks more like a UX engineer. I think that's a skilling you can offer this person. We do this at 3 levels. And fourth, of course, we look at generic skills from a HR, more than HR, cultural fitment for it, and then compensation. So we have been using this iterative model, and this works best for us.
So moving on now, Subbu, I'm sure you have put your best to make this model success, right? Definitely, I'm sure there will be problems and the opportunities in any process or a model we follow. What would be the roadblock or a challenges, in this journey? And I would also like to know, the acceptance from the organization as you are dealing with across Fortune 500 companies and you have built expertise over years, right?
Right. Yes.
So, what was the roadblock or the challenges, and how did you mitigate? And
I would say the roadblock is more of two kinds. When we are recommending a model like this for hiring the more experienced people, what you call as laterals, there's so much of disbelief in having this kind of orientation. I think there the challenge is more about trust. In the name of professionalism, there is lack of trust. So to be able to discover what are the core competencies in a person, I see that in many of the companies, that personal interaction is not happening. The empathy towards the person is low. From that culture, I think that's one challenge that we have in the hiring, because this model requires you to trust the person. Even in an interview, the person can fake. You got no choice. At the
right.
entry level, I would say sometimes lack of maturity in the person would become a bottleneck. Otherwise, more or less, the models, the assessments we have created have worked great for us and for many of our customers. To the extent I'm yet to recollect a person who was hired through us, who was a poor performer, and we have done this in scale, in thousands. So, and it's also been well oiled. We've been doing this from 2009, and it took us 10 years to master this. I think it's in a fairly mature phase. We don't claim to be perfect so that we stop the innovation, but I think we come along.
Sure. I think definitely, Subbu, there's a equal emphasis is also placed on both client and candidate satisfaction, right? You did say people can fake and things like that. But how do we ensure that each one finds a perfect fit in the other? It's just not the organization building this culture, right? And the candidate getting scaled on the skill, and the trust factor is also there. And there are managers. What should they know in the process, and what is their role?
So I think this is the most important thing. Something that we keep in mind all the time when we hire people. We simply don't want people to work for us. We want people to work for themselves. That means we don't want people to work because we don't have many managers, somebody else who assigns goals. We want people to own this. So as we keep jokingly telling, Pratian has 250 to 300 CEOs. Everybody has a sense of ownership. So the only way we can get this is if they fall in love with the culture. So it's very important for the candidate buy-in here, not because we want to sell or get a buy-in. If the buy-in is not there, we will both find it's very difficult when we work together, because the expectation is to own the goals and go for the results. If the person is not very strongly oriented there, and then you get suboptimal results. So this is something that we do. Well, it's not just about we looking at the fitment. We make sure that people really think we are the right team to work, we're the right company for them, and they really love doing this. And there have been odd cases where employees have come and told me, I think I want to see something else, look at other companies. This is the kind of offer I'm getting. What do I do? Sometimes I tell them, I think you should continue staying here. Sometimes I tell, I think it's a great thing, go explore. Because the minute they can do it as a job, they do this because they like us, they build this relationship. But if they're not owning their goals, it becomes very difficult to be both flat and agile. So for every company which is agile, I think owning and self-managed teams are very, very critical. So that's an aspect we keep in mind while hiring.
Okay, sure. And is there an evaluation in this process? What is the approach you follow, Subbu?
So I used to try different approaches. Then I came across this body of knowledge. It's called Arvinger. I was pretty fascinated when I read their book. It's called The Leadership and Self-Deception from the Arvinger Institute. And eventually I also met them. I traveled all the way to Utah, met the head of Arvinger. And we even started promoting Arvinger programs, workshops in India. That's after a couple of years. So I learned a very interesting concept from Arvinger. It's called having an outward mindset. It's like seeing people as people, seeing them the same way that we see ourselves. And we use a framework called outside, inside, out. So we kind of try to understand the needs, the goals, the burdens and challenges of the person. And then we start dealing with the person with empathy. And most of the times when we talk to candidates, we realize that they have not been listened to for years. When you send them, when was the last time somebody listened to your needs, your goals, your burdens, your challenges? Surprisingly, you would say not in the last 10 years. So that's startling. So we are not listening to people. And we use this model outside, inside out. And that really helped us a lot. So I should be very thankful for what we learned from our teacher.
Okay, insightful. I think, Subbu, in our previous conversation, you touched on, you want to know about people, what are they good at, what they love, and what are their goals. And now, the without word mindset, outside, inside, out. It's an interesting thing to put front of the candidate. All of these. Would you also give a career path for these individuals?
Absolutely. The answer is yes. And also, we politely refrain from sharing specific career paths. Culturally in Pratian, we like people to choose what they like to and take the company ahead as they move ahead in their career paths. While we do offer certain insights in terms of where they can get, but mostly within the culture, all our team members know where they want to be headed,
Okay.
and they have the flexibility, the liberty to try new things, fail, sometimes even uh, upset some of the team members because they try new things. But then that's been the whole culture. So this is something I learned from my guru, Jyoti, Swami Brahma Yogananda. He taught me this. If everything is driven by the self, not as being selfish, but through self-knowledge, it becomes pretty easy. So we took the whole model. It was more a Vedantic model. And then we started implementing them. And it's been fascinating. You choose what you want to do. You choose your career path. You honor your responsibilities. Don't fail the team. So if everything can be driven by people with this kind of knowledge, then it becomes easy to manage. The only one thing here is, how can you trust people there? So he taught me that first, Subbu, it's for you to be trustworthy. Without internal purity, you cannot go out. So the science is pure, the scientist is not. So don't worry about the other people. You got to evolve into being a better person. I think we are trying to do that, and other people are also helping us. So that's the reason why trust gets created.
Okay, wonderful. I'm able to resonate what your guru is saying, driven by self, ownership and self-managed. I think you will see that success.
Yeah, I want to tell something here. It's a very brief thing. My guru taught me this. Don't try to control people. He told me a story of the monkey putting its hand through a bowl which had a very small lid opening. So, and it got a full handful of groundnuts. And that's how control is. Now, it cannot take its hand out because it has so many groundnuts. There's no space. It does not want to drop the groundnuts to take its hand out. He said, you will become like the monkey with the groundnuts. Don't try to control people. That keeps hitting me hard. I keep remembering I should not be the monkey. So I give people the space.
Interesting story. Yeah. See? Yeah, I think that will be playing in our mind, right? Yeah, sure. How can one understand how the behaviors of the candidate, Subbu, which will impact the performance of the candidate?
I don't think I'm an expert in telling this, but somehow we tend to attract people who fit into our culture automatically. I don't know if there's a cosmic equation here or it's something that we are emitting. And we've also seen that in certain cases, we found people who were not able to fit into this culture and they eased out on their own. So I think if you preserve the culture very strongly, people tend to get attracted. At the same time, those who do not resonate with those values or culture you build will tend to move out. So if I have to answer your question, Jyoti, I really don't know that, but we have made a lot of effort to define the Pratian culture, and towards that's my biggest investment, and that helps me a lot.
Okay. And Subbu, on this whole model or the framework which we are talking about, the talent discovery, would it also give a report? Would it also give a compatibility report, which person's profile, and will it compare it to the benchmark model of a particular job role? What is required?
Absolutely, yes. Our assessment process has been fairly elaborate. I will say very, very, very elaborate. We keep assessing people continuously for extended periods of time. and something that we have done for you at very entry level, Jyoti, and also for many companies at lateral level. It could sound a little strange, but we have never found ourselves to be wrong in being demoted. What I mean is, our report said this person is A. He ended up being a B or C on the floor. Never. Other way around has happened. Sometimes we were conservative, or we didn't become conservative. We just said he's a B plus candidate. He ended up becoming a top performer. Such cases have happened. It's because of the depth and the comprehensiveness in which we've been assessing people. And one good thing that our customers like is we work with 30, 40 people or sometimes 100 people. And normally when people work with you, end of the day, when you skill them and you assess them, there is some kind of a pressure inherently where you need to make all these people top performers. We don't do that. We have given thousands of reports where we say, look, this is your A plus, you have only 5%, 10% is your A, your B plus, your belly fat, it's 40%, you got some B 30%, you even have C 20%. This is the result of what we have done, in spite of we spending time. So initially customers were a little startled, telling that how could they spend 3 months time with you? Or how could they spend an entire week with you? This was at lateral level. And you can still say we have C. I said, look, skills are different, core aptitude, talent is different. These people can do the work. They'll take a little more time. So they have the required knowledge and ability to apply. You can say they have the skills. But in terms of being able to handle complexity, it's a different thing. So we keep doing this. And this was really appreciated by our customers because now they knew where to deploy whom. You don't put an A plus on a C role. He quits. You don't take a C and put him in an A role. So can we offer very clear insights about each person to a client and then go further beyond and say what role fitment this person will be and then get them deployed into a project? That's something we learned doing this over the last 10 years.
Interesting. Subbu, since we are talking about skill assured talent, is deployable on a day one to the business post your training. I have had a first-hand experience of skill assure in my company. Can you give an aerial view to my audience how it works, how that translates into business continuity?
So I should say the whole skill assure thing started when I used to do some work with MySys. We were building a team for them, risk management team. I used to interview a lot of people, some of the senior folks for design architects to be part of the team. And then the HR person moved from MySys to Manhattan. So I continued doing some work there. And I had a request one day where they hired a bunch of freshers. We were really not into skilling freshers. But she said, Subbu, we have some good people. We have just 21 days and can you help us to skill them and somehow get them deployable into a US project? They have to go fly in 21 days from now. It was a jaw dropper because these are just people from IIT's campus not having the required skills, huge gap. And here we are given 14 days. We somehow said yes. And we spent a month for preparing for this 14-day workshop. We had to build an entire application of the same complexity that they were working with the supply chain. We took a similar application. And then we skilled these guys on the entire tech stack. It was a pretty old tech stack. It was good then. Today it's old. It was ASP, VB.NET, ADO, SQL, that kind of tech stack. So we taught them the entire technology in just one day. And then we taught them the same technology set in a greater depth in 3 days, then again 3 days, then again 3 days. And then after 10 days, we did 4 iterations. We said, guys, start building 2-3 user stories, code them out. And surprisingly, they were able to do that. So we didn't realize what we did. When we reflected back a couple of years from there on, where I wanted to build a business where it should not be working only because of me. Somehow it should work in spite of me, for me. And I thought, look, this is something we did. Looks like this pressure is a huge problem. Why can't we productize this? And that's how I met you, Jyoti. Thankfully, you introduced me to Anil. He was a big help, very, very, very sharp guy. He was your manager. And we did our first delivery at Nest. I still remember Quintile was part of Nest then. Amadeus. Yes. Money even told me, Subbu, you're going to fail. And I'm going to hold you after 60 days. These guys are not going to be deployable. I don't know why, but you just convinced me, okay, I'll give it a shot. He just gave us 2 people to train. We somehow pulled some 35 people, I think.
Yes.
15 or so from .NET, 20 from Java. And this, you also gave us time for about 45 days to skill them, which was significantly more than the 15 days we had. And magically, all of them got deployed, I think, on day one, within their first week, etc. That is when we really thought, hey, this is something special. And then we started scaling. And there was a time where, Jyoti, we went beyond deployable on day one. Many of our customers said, look, stop the training. We don't need them. They're already deployable. Let's take them out of our trainings.
Interesting.
And we did this with your 35 to start with. Today we have done close to 20,000. So it's been a fascinating journey. We never thought we would be ending up training these entry-level freshers and make a business model out of it.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that kind of a huge journey you have had, Subbu. And I know the win going through, Skill Assure talent framework, especially for the business, But from your experience across, what is the success ratio going through this model, Subbu? And is there any example also you want to share about somewhere you have delivered truly unique?
Nest was when we started this unique journey. From there, we got a call, I think, from HCL. They had the same problem, non-deployable freshers. So we got some 800 people to train. From there, we went to Oracle. And then MindTree came to us. It was very interesting. They were building this model for Kalinga, Bhubaneswar. I met Krishnan, a fascinating person, and also Naveen. He was heading the L&D. Then I met a very, very amazing person there called Anindya. I learned a lot from him. So they were trying to come up with a model which was purely project-based learning. It suited us fine because we enjoyed working on these things. They already had their trainers, so we didn't disturb them. They used to teach them in one half, send them to us in the second half, and we used to make them work on a real environment. So every person had to work on a branch as a team. They all had their test engineers, and they were given bugs to fix, change requests to manage, sometimes build from scratch. We did this, and this became a pretty smash hit. In fact, I think we trained close to 2,000 people in 2 years for MindTree. And from there on, a lot of companies came to us telling that, why can't you go source people and train them and give us ready to deploy people so we can pay you a fee for this? And then we took a lot of people, we started assessing them, we trained them free on this, we took the risk. Then our customers started paying for this, and then we started scaling this gradually. So some of the pleasant experiences has been with Oracle, Siemens. We do a lot of work with them. Quintiles has been very fascinating. So has been Amadeus, MindTree, Oracle. So yeah, Eurofins. So we worked with many of these customers.
Sure. And would this discovery also, Subbu, would reinforce continuous learning too? Because I would be curious to know about being in the L&D, would it help in, continuous or a upskilling or a cross-skilling with this process?
Yeah, this is something we learned as we were skilling people, Jyoti. Because when we were hiring people in Pratian, I had control of the quality of talent which I wanted to hire. So we had the luxury to go and assess 60,000 people and choose 100 because we were not hiring thousands like many of the large companies. We don't have those challenges. When we go to these large companies, they have a limited talent pool, and then they're all competing, hiring these people, not adequately skilled. So when we put them through the talent accelerator, we were sometimes perplexed that people could not really keep in pace with us. And then suddenly, out of the blue, after 3 weeks, these guys would start performing well. So I was observing and wondering, why is this happening? Then I realized that some people understand skills as time progresses. And the irony, Jyoti, which is so fascinating in the training space, the most critical knowledge items I need to work on a project are normally the ones that are more complex. And they are taught in the last phase of the training, say from day 40 to 50 or 50 to 60. The easy ones are taught in the beginning. But then you have so much of time to reiterate and learn the easy ones. The things which matter the most, you have so little time. So we thought, okay, this is the second challenge. People started understanding their week 1 of learning in week 4. But the week 10 of learning, they have no time because they just moved on. So what we did, we started teaching them their week 10 in week 1. It was crazy, but that helped them. We started demystifying the entire tech stack. And that's when the whole genesis of reinforced learning, iteration by iteration, came through, and we built this very nice model, iterative learning framework. It's a 4 iteration model where the first iteration we met people acquire the critical skills for them to decide whether they can go into this discipline or not. Second iteration, we demystify the entire tech stack. In 3 days, we teach them the whole tech stack. The next iteration, we tell them, look, don't worry about the trainer or the technology. Can you solve a problem? Show it, build an application, end to end. And the fourth iteration, we tell them, now you know you can build an application, but can you build like an expert? It's not just writing code. How do you layer this? How do you do separation? How do you do theory? And how do you do performance tuning? How do you actually deploy when an application is running with no downtime? Then they start learning the higher orders. By doing this iterative way of reinforcing knowledge, we were pretty successful in what we did.
Interesting. So, Subbu, I think we have got a glimpse of, all the talent discovery and the skill assure process, how it can be a differentiator for the individual and for the organization and the culture to play the whole aspect, right? Wonderful insight on this. And is there anything else you would like to add that will be of value to my listeners?
I don't know if it will be of great value, but I want to tell this with honesty. All these iterative models, all these techniques, and all the idea of being having self-managed cultures were all learned by me from my guru, who taught me a lot of things over the last 12 years. So today, I can swear by his principles, almost everything that we implement at work is what I've learned from him. So finding the right mentor, a guru, helps. This could be possibly the most valuable thing for your listener.
Sure. And do you also want to share what Pratian is doing?
I think as an organization, Jyoti, we are now evolving into a larger vision. It was all couple of people, 3-4 people coming together, trying to do some scale, trying to do some good work. Then we achieve some scale. Now we are doing something which is very fulfilling. We are connecting ourselves with our own purpose of life. It's so beautiful when your work is purpose driven. In fact, we got the purpose of Pratian only last year. It's connecting people to their infinite potential. It's very Vedantic. So everybody has infinite potential. If you break the boundaries and barriers of the mind, then they can get into their infinite potential. And then there are so many opportunities. So we are taking that as our model, as our purpose. And we thought, what can we do best? We know some technology. We built some pretty complex platforms. But then what is it we can do for a country? So my guru has given this mantra for me. It's called Param Vaibhav Bharat, how to build a strong Bharat for a peaceful world. I thought, let me combine my professional knowledge with what he taught. And we are trying to make our country the leader in what we call as responsible digital innovation. While there's a lot of industrial 4.0 technologies which we use, and many people are using this, we also know that from industrial revolution 1 to 4, we have blown all our glaciers away. There's more global warming. There's from the nuclear bomb to plastic. It's been very chaotic. We hope that Industry 4 should not add to this chaos exponentially. So I thought India being the land of what we call as dharma, it's a great thing to get inspired from, and we'll create responsible digital innovation. And we can make our country be a leader in this. Leader not as in showing off being a leader, in a very responsible way. So we are trying to create multiple digital innovation clusters all over the country, interconnect them. We are aspirational of having about 100 of them. And we have started this journey. We have 8 or 9 that's on the way. And this is the biggest thing. This is our 10-year vision. If we can succeed, we'll be extremely happy. In a nutshell, this is what we're trying to do. And we are trying to create an integrated digital ecosystem for future skills and for innovation, solving the problems of our country, and then for entrepreneurship. So we would like to incubate and accelerate close to 1,000 startups in the next 10 years. I think we're well poised to do that. And maybe if we do this with the right amount of surrender and without ego, we should be able to achieve our goals.
Wow, wonderful closure on that purpose of Pratian, Subbu. And that's how this podcast is all about talent discovery. And last question, Subbu, how do you see talent strategy trends in 2020?
Oh, 2020. I would say in the next decade, what would matter a lot is ability to do depth thinking and innovate. Certainly, creativity is going to be the most critical thing. There's a lot of hype on the AI ML, but there's only so much that you can do with programming as you can do with the creativity. So creativity is very important. Uh, Critical thinking is very important. Ability to handle scale complexity, thinking ecosystemic. That's a very important thing. Emotional intelligence is going to be very high, and problem solving skills. So, of course, technology, design thinking, all these are going to play a role. These software aspects, I think, will be more critical because most of the tasks or the tools or the products you need are all getting so rapidly automated that software is going to build software as AI does multiple things. So it's all going to be about creativity and compassion, empathy, end user experience. What might not, what might lose appeal is all these repetitive tasks that we do with multiple SLAs. Many of them are going to get knocked out. So, being into maintenance projects, which are SLA driven, all of which can be automated, are going to be a challenge. And also, in a lot of these companies, the mid-level managers, unfortunately, they're all struggling because the young guys, the new guys are billable, the top guys hold ROI, but the mid-level is really left nowhere. I see a lot of churn happening, a lot of problems happening. It would be great for companies to address their needs and start skilling them because they were smart and they just got out of touch with the technology. So this would be very important.
Yeah, insightful, Subbu. Subbu, now we have lined up some rapid fire questions to know about the leaders who come on the Stars of Learning podcast. And these questions are targeted to know about you, which will influence my listeners to engage, enlighten, and empower. And that's the mission of my podcast, too. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
According to you, what is your star moment?
Every time I find a bright new young talent, I feel so happy. That's my star moment.
And what inspires you to do everything that you do today?
As I told you, Param Vaibhav Bharat, that's my mantra. But truly speaking, doing this helps me to evolve into a better person than what I'm today. I think it's more internal, and of course, trying to be as helpful as possible.
Sure. And since you own a company, Sabbu, what's one thing you would do differently in learning in Pratian?
I think as we get used to working, we start building artificial boundaries. I would like people to constantly keep breaking their barriers, try the impossible, and keep creating newer ways of learning. The learning agility is one thing that I would love to improve in Pratian.
And what are the three most important things you would like to accomplish right now?
First would be to become a better person. Second is the entire innovation ecosystem we are creating in India and also globally. And third would be spotting young talent, giving the right ecosystem to not just be global leaders in technology, also emerging to responsible digital innovators. These are the top three things I have in mind.
And if I may ask you, what are your strengths?
I don't take myself very seriously. I think I try to drop my identity as much as possible and learn from what my guru has taught. This possibly could be a strength.
And what's the best book you have read this year or any time you would like to recommend to my listeners?
Yes, three things. I liked 0 to 1. Very insightful.
Okay.
I've read this a few times. Second is Good to Great. I find it fascinating. And then I'm reading a book which is now called The Magic of Getting What You Want. So these three books I like enjoying reading them this year.
And what are the characteristics of the best boss or a role model or a mentor you ever had? And what made that person great for you? I know we are hearing about your guru. If you would like to explain what made that person great for you.
It's a love, empathy, discipline, and humility.
And are there any tools that you use on a daily basis to be a better you?
It sounds very ironical being a techie. I started practicing this 10,000 steps a day. So I love the app I have on my iPhone. I find that as the best tool. The minute I stay fit and exercise, I'm doing things much better.
Ah, interesting. And are there any habit you are practicing which has made you successful in whatever you do now, other than the 10,000 steps?
Whenever I get success, the ego keeps surfacing. I try my best to get rid of it. Now I'm practicing meditation, or what we call as vipassana. This helps a lot. So it allows you to stay grounded, stay focused, and look at the larger purpose.
Okay. And Subbu, we have come to an end of this interview. And before that, I have one last question. Before I collaborate, or where can they reach out to you?
So they just have to get in touch with Jyoti. And Jyoti can help connecting to 1,000 people at least.
That's fine. I think I will definitely put your LinkedIn profile. Is there any other way you would want to?
Surely they can reach out to me. My email ID is ss@pratian.com. I'll be happy to do whatever I can, and I can be reached on the emails.
Sure. Thanks. And on a closing note, and that last question, Subbu, your advice to people who are new and want to accelerate their career?
I can share one mantra my guru taught me. He called it as possible, done. So if it's possible, get it done. Then I understood that many people are not very strongly oriented about their goals. They just desire to make it happen. They don't have the real will to make it happen. So that goal orientation, if it is weak, it does not really become possible to get it done. So I think if we really want to make things happen, it can get done. So the mantra that my guru taught me is possible, done. Then he said, if you have practiced this sufficiently, then look at the next thought, impossible, done. Confront your fears. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Expand your boundaries. So these two things help me a lot. Maybe I would like to share this with your viewers.
That's amazing and great insight, Subbu. So guys, all the links and resources which we have discussed in this episode will be made available in my show notes page of my podcast, Stars of Learning, and also on my website, prajvitaknowledge.com. That is PRAJVITA knowledge.com. I will list out all our conversation in my podcast description for your quick reference. Thank you so much, Subbu, for being on this show. I really enjoyed the whole of conversation on talent discovery and the nuggets you have shared, and also about the personal habits which has really scaled you. I think it's a one habit I think people should look forward to practice. That's a good takeaway for me. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jyoti. I was very happy to be interviewed by a celebrity interviewer. I know you're very popular nowadays. So glad you found it fit to talk to me for a while.
My honor, Subbu. It's been great to have you on my show. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Subramanian Sivakumar. If you have got any learning or motivated hearing to Subbu, then make sure you do share this podcast with your friends and post it on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, and tag me and Subbu, and do let your friends know about this amazing information you have learned, and let this piece of information help many others to engage, enlighten, and empower. All my wonderful listeners, thank you so much for your patience and tuning into this show. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself and go out and do something engaging, enlightening, and empowering. Thank you.